Hi, my name is Sughey Ramírez. I am Director of Cultural Strategies at the Opportunity Agenda. The Opportunity Agenda is an organization committed to supporting narrative shift for inclusive democracy. And we do this by training communicators, organizers, social justice leaders, creatives in narrative strategy, providing messaging strategy. We also conduct communications research to inform our strategies, and we support cultural interventions through our fellowship for artists as part of our Narrative Innovators Lab and our annual Creative Change Retreat that brings together advocates, artists, and cultural strategists, as well as funders. Our Creative Change Retreat, which we've held now for over 10 years, is a really unique gathering that brings together artists, creators, influencers, activists, organizers, innovative thinkers, and other social justice leaders who spend time together in a restful setting and really feel invited to be part of the conversations that we need to be having and the interventions that we want to see in the world to support a democratic culture. And it's really the only space I know where you'll have a comedian, an organizer, and a graphic designer sitting at a table, sitting by the river for 3 or 4 days, thinking about how they can apply their specific skills and passions in service of a democratic future. And it gives me goosebumps every time to think about that and what's possible when we make those types of invitations wherein everybody is a part of the movement. A lot of incredible creative interventions emerge from the Creative Change Retreat, and I'd love to highlight one from 2 years ago. It was called Seduce the South, Making the Political Sexy, and this was developed by a stand-up comedian, a poet, and a graphic designer and illustrator from North Carolina. And the idea was that they were looking to make change irresistible in the South and take on major challenges such as abortion bans, gerrymandering, privatized education, and voter suppression. And I'm looking at my notes because it was so sophisticated. It involved 3 live events and cultural activations with free admission, comedy on local politicians, including roasts, and connections with local organizations, as well as hiring local influencers on social media, a toolkit to help other states in the South, which involved a zine inspired by vintage adult magazines, a trifold, exposing shocking items like the minimum wage, and tackling food, housing, transportation, and medical care. And Millie, our comedian, shared a concept that's popular in comedy that can be applied or a helpful tool in our work, which is taking something that folks are familiar with and making it absurd in service of our work. And the second project I want to highlight is our Narrative Innovators Lab because it's evolved so quickly and it's an experiential program where we bring together strategic communicators from a lot of really important advocacy organizations working across a range of issues. We bring them together with artists and creators who are already in dialogue with a lot of the issues we care about. And so the lab is an opportunity to experiment across mediums, across issues, and see again, what's possible when we think creatively about our interventions and the actions we can take. And so, as part of our Culture and Narrative Fellowship under the umbrella of the Narrative Innovators Lab, you'll find photographers, comedians, playwrights, and their projects really stay with you. One that comes to mind is Ali Sultan's documentary where he follows himself touring the Midwest, visiting rural communities with his stand-up show. It's called Brown in a Small Town, and just hearing about how he's been received when he arrives in these different communities and the shift that he's able to witness after a 90-minute set, and how people respond to his experience as immigrant, now living in New York, but previously in Minnesota, is both humorous and I think so necessary, and also critical in that these are the conversations that we need to be having on the ground. So when I think about the role of artists and creatives, I think about their ability to naturally infiltrate so many critical spaces. They have access and the trust of so many different groups, and we need that. One thing about the Opportunity Agenda is that all of our materials and resources are open source, which means that you can take them and use them, disseminate them as needed. When we think about arts and culture in our movements, it can often be an afterthought. And I think something the Opportunity Agenda does well is engaging with artists and creatives early on in our strategy to ensure that it's actually part of our narrative strategy and not an accent at the end. And in order to do that, we need to pay artists and we need to support long-term cultural strategy as part of our narrative strategy. I think there's a scarcity mindset, understandably, in the arts and culture space, and the reality is that it requires long-term investment in order for the cultural strategy to be successful.